I'm Big Cal and welcome to my world. Today another recent video games pickups video, and quite a few games today, especially for the Switch, but we'll leave those while last. So we'll start off with a Game Boy Advance game, and this one is Dark Arena. There we go. And it is basically kind of like a Doom clone on the Game Boy Advance. I own Doom 2 for the Game Boy Advance. It runs and plays really well. Dark Arena, not quite as good at all, and I got stuck on the first level. I couldn't even figure out how to change weapons or anything, but I don't know if it's actually because I was using my Game Boy Advance as a controller for the Game Boy player on the GameCube. I've got one of those adapters, and I don't know if the start and select button were working on my Game Boy Advance. I might have to use the spare one that I've got. So yeah, I don't know if that was the problem. Couldn't switch weapons or even choose an item. I'm pretty sure I picked up a yellow key card, but I couldn't open the door that needed the yellow key card, so I don't know if I had to select it from the inventory or something that involved the start and select buttons. Yeah, so it's fine. You know, it's a cool little game for the Game Boy Advance to see, you know, kind of what it's capable of with sort of, you know, 3D looking graphics and levels and things. And yeah, it's kind of a Doom rip-off. You probably are better off with one of the Doom games, especially Doom 2. But yeah, Dark Arena, nice little game that I discovered, decided to pick up because it was cheap, just like almost everything else on this list, because I'm a cheap bastard. Next, a PSP game that I'd only heard about recently from, again, my Australian friend who keeps recommending me games and costing me money, that bastard. Footage of this one, by the way, will be recorded using an emulator because I just lent my PSP to my brother, so I don't have it to record the footage. Though I did play the game on the PSP before I lent it to him, and I forgot to record footage. Crush. Basically, oh crap, what's that game called? That one that guy Phil Fish made, Fez. Yeah, you know, where you move around a level and then you switch between like 3D and 2D and move it round, and you know, it kind of changes your perspective. You'll move the cube sort of round, and you might have access to new platforms and things. It's basically like that, but done before it, as far as I'm aware. And the object is basically you're inside your mind, and you're working with a psychiatrist essentially to try and find out why you can't sleep, I think it is. Yeah, because you keep having nightmares, so you have to go into your own brain and try and figure them out. It's a cool puzzle platformer that uses obviously the changing perspectives and things like that, and moving in and out of 3D and 2D and moving the play area around. It's really cool, really fun idea, and a great pickup for the PSP. Next we have a Star Wars game for the Wii. Actually ordered this for the PSP, but I had some real trouble from Music Magpie. I ordered it from. It was like 4 games for £8, I think it was, so they worked out at £2 each. And I ordered 3 DS games, which you'll see in another video at one point, and a PSP game, which was supposed to be Star Wars The Clone Wars Republic Heroes for the PSP. Of course, I have the Wii version. So what happened was, they dispatched the 3 DS games, and then nothing showed up for the PSP game. So I got in touch with them, and they said, "Oh no, everything's been dispatched, you only ordered 3 items." Like, no, so I sent them proof of, you know, my order page that clearly showed 4 items. So I sent them that. It's like, "Oh, sorry, it must be out of stock, but you've been refunded." Checked my account. Nope, haven't been refunded anything. About 2 days later they responded, "Your item has been dispatched." And they sent the wrong one. They sent the Wii version instead of the PSP version. But I did get a refund anyway, so yeah, it was just a lot of pissing about and stupidity on their part. Yeah, so it's actually a pretty fun game set obviously during the Clone Wars TV show, one of my favourite things about Star Wars. And yeah, you get to go around as Obviously Anakin Skywalker, and you can do 2-player as well with Ahsoka, and I'm guessing others come into play, and I'm pretty sure you can also be a clone trooper at some point during it, and you go around battlefields killing things. I made it up to sort of like this robot-y spider boss, but it didn't make sense. It just kept telling me to use the force to hold down its leg, and I did that, and then it just like wouldn't explain what else I had to do, so I got stuck. But from what I played, it was actually pretty fun. I just need to figure out how the hell to get past that boss. And of course I also want to pick it up for the PSP for my collection. Next we have a PlayStation 1 game. So another person kept telling me to get this particular game on the Nintendo 64. And then I ended up picking it up on the PlayStation just to piss him off. That is Mission Impossible. So apparently this is supposed to be a pretty good game, especially in the N64. I got the PS1 version because it has got cutscenes and voice acting, and it's supposed to be a better experience. Not from what I played of it so far. It controls like crap. Yeah, and I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. It's like, oh, go to this white building, go to this building that's a white dot on your map or whatever, your scanner. So I went in there, beat up a guy, got something, an item, and then it's like, what do I do now? No instruction, no nothing. It's like, okay, I've got this thing, and so I went over to a guard thinking, oh, maybe this item, and then I just got arrested. Yeah, so maybe the N64 version is the better way to go. We'll see. I'll pick it up at some point because it's a cheap game no matter what system you get it on. So Mission Impossible, and we'll see if maybe the N64 version is actually somewhat playable. Next, another game I got pretty cheap. I got it through a Black Friday sale, an early one. It was 20% off everything, so I picked this one up. It was already cheap, and that is the Battle of Olympus. And it's supposed to be a pretty good sort of like action-y RPG game, kind of like Zelda 2 in that sense, but supposedly better. My experience so far has not been good. The first enemies you come across are these little like slimy blobs, that I guess worms maybe. They're in the trees and they fall out and land on the ground. And they're too low to the ground, so you can't hit them while you're ducking. But every so often they'll jump up and attack you, and that's when you can swipe at them. Except you never know when they're going to jump up and attack you, and half the time, by the time you realise they've jumped, you swipe, you've already missed, and they attack you, will just kill you. So I couldn't get very far in the game. But the cartridge in great condition, even comes with the manual, so that's nice, and a cool little official Nintendo sleeve. So maybe one day I'll go back and try and get through it and see what's beyond the first area. Next, some PS2 games. We have Breath of Fire 5 Dragon Quarter. I think this is the 5th one anyway. Started playing the first Breath of Fire game through the Switch on the Super Nintendo games that you get for being a member of Nintendo Switch Online, and while it's essentially an 8-bit early RPG but on a 16-bit console, it is very outdated by the time it's 16-bit, but it's fun. It's got lots of stuff you would expect from an RPG. I thought this is pretty cool. I wonder what the rest of the series is like, so I decided to start picking them up. This one was one of the cheapest for me to get, and apparently it's very different from lots of the other ones. I've played it a little bit, and it sort of started off, it's like I had no real idea where to go, so I just kind of moved through doors and ended up where I needed to be. Did a couple of battles, and it was alright. It's one that, obviously being an RPG, I think I need to give it a little bit more time, just like 5 minutes in doing one single battle. Not really gonna, sell me on the game. I'm going to need to really put some time into it, and one day I probably will actually do that, because I kind of want to play the entire Breath of Fire series at some point. That's just the first pickup. Next, I got UFC Sudden Impact for the PS2, one of the early UFC games. Of course, I think one came out on the PS1, and the Dreamcast as well. I even think there's a handheld version. Yeah, so Sudden Impact. I don't know many of the fighters. While literally only know, I think, 3 of them based on the back: Ken Shamrock, Tito Ortiz, and Chuck Liddell. Not that familiar with this sort of time period of UFC, but it's not that bad actually. I only played one fight. I was Ken Shamrock. I made chuck the Dell tap out and had some fun just punching and kicking. You know, it seems like it could be a decent enough fighting game, you know, UFC style. It's obviously not going to be as good as UFC Undisputed 3, which is sort of like the pinnacle of these games. But yeah, I had enough fun with it just testing it out. And then I also got UFC 3, the latest one I believe for the PS4. And this cost me nothing because my friend Tom gave it to me. He got it nice and cheap at Tesco. He works there, so we got it was on offer and he got his discount, so it cost him bugger all. He played it a few times, didn't like it, gave it to me. So far all I've done is play the intro level. You load up the game straight away if you don't have a save. If it's a new game, it'll go into sort of a dream fight between Conor McGregor and somebody else, and you Conor McGregor, and you sort of learn the basics there and then have to win the fight. And it was fun enough, you know, it was easy enough. The controls are very similar in lots of ways to UFC Undisputed 3 that I've been playing on the PS3. Obviously there are some differences. I didn't get quite into it, I was just throwing punches and kicks, and then I somehow managed to I think go to the ground at one point and throw a couple of punches, but I wasn't really sure what I was doing when I was on the ground area, what to press or anything. So I've heard bad things about the latest UFC games, and just based on that one fight, it seemed fun enough. Is it going to be as good as UFC Undisputed 3? Probably not, but I'll probably be able to get some fun out of it anyway. So a pretty new release. I pre-ordered this, got it in release date, and that is the remaster of the original PS1 game, Medieval, or Medieval. I think it's just Medieval, I don't know. That's what I'm calling it anyway. And obviously you are Sir Daniel, and you were killed in a battle many years ago, like right at the beginning, shot through the eye with an arrow. But for some reason history has decided to call you a hero, and the evil being, Zarok has returned, and you must now come back from the dead as the undead skeleton-y thing and actually become a hero by defeating Zorak for real this time. And it's really fun. I never got a chance to play the originals on the PS1. I haven't even played the PSP version, which is apparently really bad. I'd heard good things about it at one point, and now everyone's saying it's terrible. But yeah, I played the demo, really liked it, pre-ordered it, and it also came with a free steelbook, which is really nice, but I don't really have any use for it because, you know, why do I need two cases? It'd be nice if maybe it was sort of like a tin edition. I've got some like DVDs where you get the tin editions, but the actual DVD case fits inside it. So it would be a bit thicker obviously, but it'd go inside, it'd be on the shelf. Now I've got this to put on my shelf and then this to display, I guess. Yeah, but Medieval, really fun game, I'm enjoying it. And this game, I had to import this from America because it's difficult to get over here, especially this version. I don't know why. It's not that old. It's a PS4 game for starters. It just it's hard to come by. Lots of sites it's just out of stock all the time, or it's at an expensive price. And I paid basically £40, which is what you pay for a brand new game, and I got the Decisive edition. So I love the Legend of Heroes Trails in the Sky trilogy. Fantastic games, and obviously now Trails of Cold Steel is the next in the Trails in the Sky series that we're actually getting in English. I owned the first two digitally on the PS3, got them dirt cheap a while ago, but I never got around to actually starting them up. But now they're getting PS4 releases, 3 has just come out, and 4 will definitely be getting an English translation and coming over here, so that's great. So I'm going to play them all on the PS4. So I started off by buying the first one. Like I said, it's the definitive edition, imported from America, so it cost me the same price as the regular version would cost if I was able to actually buy it over here. So what does the definitive edition come with? The Decisive edition, sorry. Well, for starters it comes with a steelbook, but just a steelbook, and it's inside the box, so that's nice. And it looks awesome, that's great there, and the back is fantastic, that looks really cool. And of course comes with the game and a full colour manual. A PS4 gaming with a full colour manual. You don't get that often anymore. I don't know if that just comes with the Decisive edition or if it's with the regular game, but yeah, PS4 game with a manual. Yeah, it's kind of rare, sadly. And then you also get, if it'll come out, come on, get a replica 50 Mira coin. That's obviously the currency in the game. That's really nice, really high quality. Very, very nice. And the bottom, open it up at the bottom, and you can get the soundtrack as well, because these the Trails in the Sky trilogy had an amazing soundtrack, so I'm hoping it's going to be the same for this as well. So it's really cool to have that on disc, although I'm probably not going to open it. Yeah. So very happy to get that. I recorded footage obviously with this, and I had to stop myself from continuing on, otherwise I would have gone on for hours at a time. So I've had to sort of slow down. It's like, no, you know, I've got a couple of other games I'm playing at the moment. I need to wait first until I've really got the time to just play this for hours on end. So Trails of Cold Steel 1, and I'm planning on picking up 2 and 3 in the very near future. Right, let's move on to this pile now, which are all Switch games. Wow, that's a lot of Switch games. So first, imported this one from Asia. It is Dragon Quest 1, 2 and 3. It's a physical release. For some reason we haven't got it released, you know, over here or anything, but the Asian release, where it is physical, is in English, so it's perfectly playable. They're not the best of ports, obviously. They are the mobile ones, so a lot of people not particularly happy. I'm just pleased that I'll be able to play these games on my Switch. I own the original on the NES. I own 1, 2 and 3 on the Super Nintendo. I've got the Super Famicom versions, and I've got some fan translated versions on cartridge that I can play, but it's nice to be able to play them on the Switch and in handheld, so that's really cool. I'm just really, really happy to own those games. You know, the more Dragon Quest games I can get on the Switch, the better. Then got an amazing 3D platformer, A Hat in Time. Obviously this has been out for a couple of years now already. It was a massive Kickstarter success. I have already played through most of it on PC. I played through the full main game, and I've played through a bit of the Seal the Deal DLC, which is included on the cartridge in here, which is very nice. Is it on the cartridge? No, it's not in the cartridge, but you do get a download code for it inside. And there was also the other release, can't remember the name of it, another DLC just got released last week, I think, for the Switch as well. And it was on like $3.99, so I've already bought that and paid for it. Hat in Time. It does obviously take a pretty big downgrading graphics based on just, you know, me playing it on my PC, obviously. So I'm a bit surprised with how much it's come down, but it still plays and looks wonderful and sounds great, and it's a fantastic 3D platformer. I highly recommend this if you like 3D platformers. It takes a lot of inspiration from Mario Sunshine, so that's awesome. Then we have this one I just recently got. I'd actually forgotten I ordered it, and it showed up. It's like, oh yeah, I'd ordered that. It was originally a PS2 game. I don't think it came out on Xbox and GameCube. I actually have it just over here, and it's a remaster that came out recently, and that is Sphinx and the Cursed Mummy, and it is a 3D puzzle platformer. Lots of platforming in it and basic action, but there's very puzzle based in how you have to, you know, activate certain things and get past objects and, you know, progress and things. So it's really, really fun. It's cool figuring out what you have to do. So I'm really looking forward to delving into that even more. Super rare games. Obviously I bought some limited run games in the past. This was some super rare games, which I believe is in the UK, and they do a similar thing only with Switch games. So I ordered this one. I've played them both on PC in the past, and they're fantastic little games, so I decided, yep, physical release I'm picking up is Evoland, the Legendary Edition. It includes Evoland 1 and 2. And basically what these games are is you start off like with just a little, you know, square, and all you can do is move left and right. And as you progress, you get more movement, the graphics increase, sound increases, and you know, go some through the areas of, you know, 2D, 8-bit, 16-bit, You know, then you get maybe 3D, then you get improved textures, HD, you get improved sound quality, different abilities. It's just really, really fun. Different gameplay styles as well. You've kind of got like Zelda dungeons, and you've also got turn-based JRPG fights, and all sorts of things. Really, really cool. I enjoyed both games tremendously. So I'm really happy to have a physical release, and of course it's limited run. A limited run game as in there's only a limited amount, not from limited run. It comes with a card pack as well, super rares, a few cards in there, and a little booklet. Not much of a manual, but it's nice to have. Yeah, so very happy to own that. Got this on release, I pre-ordered it because it looked really good. It looked really, really good, and it disappointed the hell out of me. Ukulele and the Impossible Lair. So, the original Ukulele, 3D obviously, and I own that, and I've not really played much of it. I've got it on PS4, but I was excited for it. But I've heard a lot of complaints about how the levels are far too big, and a lot of them there's nothing in them, and you're just moving about in these big empty spaces a lot of times until you get to your objectives. So when they announce a second game, it's like, oh, they're going to be 3D again, they're going to learn from the mistakes. It's like, oh, we're doing 2D this time. And it looked really good because it looks like a modern Donkey Kong Country game. Great, because I love the Donkey Kong Country games, I love the Donkey Kong Country Returns games. This looked like one of those. And a lot of people have been saying it plays like them. It has not clicked with me at all. It just feels off. The controls just don't feel... It doesn't feel like I'm in full control. Like jumping just doesn't feel right to me at all. Attacking doesn't feel right, and I've just not been having fun with it. I've played like 4 or 5 different levels, even one of them where you change it up where it's water and then you freeze it and you go in and everything's ice, and it's a cool concept, but it just doesn't work for me. I have not been enjoying this game at all. Very disappointing. A game that I have enjoyed because I've already played it once and now it's been remastered. Came out the last generation, you know, PS3, Xbox 360, even the Wii got a version. I think the PS2 even got a version, the same as the Wii, and PC. I played it on PC, now I own it on the Switch, and that is the Ghostbusters game remastered. And this is essentially Ghostbusters 3. Because it's got the story written by Harold Ramis and Dan Aykroyd, I believe. It's got all the original cast back, doing voices, everything, and the story is essentially what a Ghostbusters 3 would have been. Now we are now getting a Ghostbusters 3 next year, but yeah, it's not going to be the same. Some of the cast are no longer with us, so that sucks. So yeah, this is basically the definitive Ghostbusters 3, and it is a fun, fantastic game. I had a ton of fun with it on PC. I've played a bit so far on the Switch, also having a ton of fun with that. Next is a game physical that is technically free. If you own Nintendo Switch Online, you get this game for free. So I bought the physical version of it, Tetris 99. Yes, comes on a cartridge. And this cost me $17.99, which is incidentally the same price as Nintendo Switch Online for a year. Which is cool because this comes with Nintendo Switch Online for 1 year. So I essentially got Nintendo Switch Online for a year, which I already have, so I haven't redeemed the code yet. There it is, still not scratched it off, going to redeem that next year. But I basically got a free game with it, Tetris 99 physicals. It comes on the cartridge. And that's just really, really cool. I thought it'd be nice to add to my collection. I get another year of Nintendo Switch Online, which I was going to get anyway. But I get a cool box and actual game on cartridge inside. So that was nice to have. It's nice to add to the collection. Another recent game that just came out on Halloween. Very much looking forward to this, and it lived up to expectations. Luigis Mansion 3. And it also came with the Polter Pup. It was adorable in a little keyring form, and there was also a sticker set, which I don't have with me. Yeah, Luigi's Mansion 3, fantastic. Technically, it's not even a mansion. You're in a hotel, but it doesn't matter. Each floor has its own theme. Some of the themes are fantastic. You've got like an ancient Egypt one with those sand everywhere, which is just stunning to look at and blow around and suck up. It's amazing how well that is done. Lots of interesting bosses. They're kind of like the portrait ghosts from the first one. They've all got their own unique identity. The one with the filmmaker in the film studio is fantastic. One of my favourite levels in the game. But yeah, it's just a really fun, great. It's not quite the original Luigi's Mansion in terms of atmosphere, but it's still really cool, and I loved playing through this game. And lastly, the newest release that I got for the Nintendo Switch, Pokemon Sword. Yes, picked up Pokemon Sword. Very hyped for this. The first real official, proper Pokemon game on a console. And it has not disappointed me one bit. I know there's a ton of controversy around it because they didn't include all the Pokemon, and the reason they said that is because they were working on increasing, how it looks or whatever, the wild area, but then you go in and the textures aren't as great as you would hope, and things pop in and out, and none of that affected my gameplay at all. Still a Pokemon game at its core, very fun. It's different to a lot of older Pokemon game. There's not really much of a story there. It's just sort of in the background as you're going through gyms, like, oh yeah, an explosion happened over there, don't worry, we'll look after it, you just go to the next gym, go. And then at the end it's like, oh no, you better fix it now. Okay. Yeah, but I've had a lot of fun. It took me about 21 hours to finish the main game, then the little post-game story afterwards, which is about typical for a Pokemon game. And then I've ended up putting in like another 20 odd hours just doing the max raids with the Dynamax Pokemon, with the massive Pokemon, and you fight them 4-on-1. You can do it online or offline, so you can do it with other people. Really fun. Done a bunch of surprise trades, ended up with all the starters, so that's nice and cool. Got a bunch of Pokemon up to level 100. I've been having a lot of fun with the Battle Tower. I've never bothered with it in previous games, but for some reason this one I've just really been getting into it. So really cool, really been enjoying that game. Screw the hate. It's doing extraordinarily well in sales, so it hasn't affected that in any way. And it also came with a steelbook. Yeah, it's still sealed. So again, I just don't have any need for these, but it's cool, looks cool. It's got the Zacian, I believe it's called, Zacian, yeah, the sort of dog with a sword in its mouth. Fun, legendary, I like it. So I'll put that on display. So those are my recent video game pickups for just at the moment. Oh, Freedom Finger on the Nintendo Switch. It's out on other systems, I think. It's definitely out on PC. It's probably out on PS4 as well and things. It's an old school style side-scrolling shooter, but with a nice visual aesthetic. Looks cool, and you're a finger that shoots. That's your ship, and you can also, you're basically a hand. You shoot out your finger, but you can also punch things, and you can grab enemies and use their weapons as your own. So if you come up against a cool enemy, you've got like a spread shot or something, you can grab him and you can use the spread shot. If you get hit a couple of times while you're holding it, it'll die and you go back to your normal finger, or you can throw the enemy and cause it to explode and things like that. It's got a great sense of humour, an amazing soundtrack. Absolutely highly recommended that. So, I'm bigcal, thanks for watching. Let me know what you thought of my pickups down in the comments below. Let me know what pickups you've got recently, and I'll see you again next time.